Yo, welcome back to Lenz's Comic Corner, classic lesser known classics. This is episode number 3130 and Doubleshot number 3024. First up we're discussing Firestrom, Volume 2, issues 73 to 85. One thing I got to mention when I talked about this book last time is that since issue 68, I think it is, Firestrom has been stuck in Russia, and he remained there until issue 80 of this book. Here it also works in Russian superheroes, and also Martin Stein is no longer part of the Firestrom Matrix. He's sort of been reshaped behind the scenes to where Ryan Raymond's also transformed on his own, but also occasionally using Putzar to become Firestrom. Yes, that's kind of what a little bit of the gist exactly what's been going on here. Yeah, actually since issue 69 up until 85, he's hanging out in Russia. Actually, he actually leaves and comes back in Russia for about 5 issues. Yeah. All in the Russian superheroes working with Ronnie Raymond while he's in Russia. He's also battling some aliens too. They're not the Red Rocket Brigade. They're a completely separate group of characters. Yeah, so basically the issue starts out, looks like he's in St. Petersburg. There's some explosion going on. You have Firestrom working with this older guy. And of course also that Ronnie and Putzar are sharing a consciousness. Oh, the group he's working with is known as the Shots. Yes. Yeah, they're a group of think of them as the DC equivalent to Darkstar from Marvel Comics. That's kind of what these people are. And they're comprised of Firebird, Purin, Ruskiga, Belkar, Mexico. They debut in issue 70, and they're not really around very long, per se, in the comics. Yeah, they're here up until around issue 84, and that's when they're around here for this issue here, and then they disappear for about 7 straight issues, come back for 2 more, and that was it for the group. But eventually, of course, that Ronnie does get back to the U.S. Does Putzar go with him? Yes, he does. And I guess the only way he becomes Firestrom is to merge with him. Now, at first, basically, he's fighting Russian villains in 73, and then 74. By the way, also Killer Frost returns to these issues. Yeah, first time seeing here is issue 60. Yes, I guess John Oswald probably felt this though. Firestrom fans missing fighting one of the villains, so throwing Killer Frost. And of course, she's still wearing the original costume. You think you look at this character, you think she's Crystal Frost, but no, that's Louise Lincoln. Yes, why in the world the artists have updated this point, I have no idea. It's completely bizarre. What was that boots I was saying? Mikhail Akred. Okay, it's not Putzar, it's actually Mikhail Agni. Yeah, he's been the other half of Firestrom. He is... Okay, so he was one of those Putzar. Okay. So, he's just a nuclear technician who just happened to be working with Firestrom. And he's pretty much a supporting character. He debuted in this book as Putzar in issue 64. But now he's going by his real name. And for some reason, the way it works now is that either he can team up with him and form Firestorm. Now, he's pretty much a supporting character in this book until around issue 85. After that, he appears like 2 more times after that. And then, like, he pops up in the next line for the book. And that's the last you saw of the guy in Firestorm. Mm-hmm. So is basically him back home in issue 74? Yes, because his parents are there. Yeah, and then we have him fighting a sand demon. Yes. Who is a character who Conway created and also brought back for this one issue and never seen again after this. And then he has a rematch with Brimstone. And Darkseid's here too. Yep, and Firehawk is back in the book. Also, she and Ronnie are sort of romance issues. Yes, they brought her, like, I'm like, what in the world was she doing, like, off screen? Mm-hmm. Yeah, this is her first appearance book since around issue 60. So this was probably her first time appearing in the book in probably like a year. Last time she was actually 6'6", but she's back in the book for good remainder of the book for a little bit, and then she just gets her appearance. But it's great to see her again. Even her father's back in the book too. Mm-hmm. And then we begin this 3-part story known as Eden. It starts issue 77, ends with issue 79. It is mostly put. Looks like the best way to describe this story is that it's Firestorm basically just take on some Mother Nature type of stuff, not nuclear weapon type of thing like it was before. And then by issue 80. Issue 80 becomes a tie-in to Invasion, where he meets up with Power Girl again, and this issue in particular would cross over with an issue of Starman. Yes. Where it opens up, look like in some jungle. By the way, John Osborne does not write this tie-in per se. No, he does not. He does not write this tie-in. Yeah, this issue in particular is done by Robert Greenberg. That's the name of the guy who's basically writing this book. Yeah, it's basically some foreign country, and the invasion is going on here, and Firehawk is basically here in the book too, and they're working with Power Girl, another fellow Jerry comic creation, and this is where we kind of have the split stuff. We have basically have Ronnie and Putzar working together, and then we have other characters pop up here. It's like, yeah, for a tie into Invasion, is like, it feels like there are just way too many characters in this book. That's what it seems like, anyways. Yeah, that's what it seems like. It almost looks like at one point it seems like Power Girl may have thought that maybe Firestone was hitting on her, but nope, it doesn't really go anywhere at all. And then this story continues over in Starman. Yes, Starman. Because of course he's here in the book, and this is of course done by Roger Stern and Tom Lyle. Yes, Tom Lyle is your writer for this book. Mm-hmm. Yep. And of course you have Starman being tortured by looks like to be members of the U.S. military, and a lot of it simply just breaking them out. Yeah, for an Invasion tie-in, it just, and then eventually Firestorm shows up halfway to the issue, and Power Girl, and Firehawk free him, and of course they take him home. They fight off Easy Company. They basically Easy Company. Yeah. And then we're back to. And then we're back to Firestrom for a few issues. Mm-hmm. Which leads into a change in the book. Yes. Yeah, after having that one guy fill in for issue 80, John Ostrander is back in the book. This, of course, is a Aftermath extra. Mm-hmm. Okay, so apparently Adam Strange show up in this book, and of course Starman. Mm-hmm. So yeah, the story continued over. Like, good thing I brought up basically Starman. Mm-hmm. And this is the sole issue that basically gets tied in with, and then the next issue is just an Aftermath issue. Yep. And you have Tom Greenberg basically in the artwork here, where the Shields is back here for the remainder of the issues, and fighting a villain known as Stalvik. And he's back here for this one issue. This will be his final appearance in the book. Mm-hmm. Yeah, and then basically 82 features the return of Louise Lincoln, aka Killer Frost. Even the Parasite is back in these mini issues. Yes, as for why at this point, basically, that he brought back Firestrom in the book, after not being featured books in issue 64? I don't know. At this, she's not seen again for like over a year until she pops up toward the end of the book. My guess is maybe the sales were slipping, and I guess that some people maybe not fans of the direction maybe John Ostrander was taking the book. So here, I'll throw you a bone by throwing in basically Killer Frost and Parasite. Now, in the case of Firestone, for him, this will be his fourth to last appearance in the book. Next time we see the book in 1986. He hops up once again. And of course, we also introduced to Mikhail's wife. Her name is Nina. And yeah, the whole thing of them finding Killer Frost actually was one issue. I thought it was two issues. My mistake. Ronnie's girlfriend Dorian Day. She's back in the book with issue 83. And the last time she was seen in the book was back in 64. And this would be her final appearance in the book. Will this be her final appearance overall? Sadly put, yes. This is sadly her final appearance. Yeah, they just threw her in because why not? Martin Stein's back in the book too. Him, it's not been that long, unlike some other characters. Yeah. For him, anyways, he was actually brought back a little part of this, but he's basically still a regular character in the book, but he's just not part of Firestrom. Mm-hmm. Yes. And then we have some changes happening here. Eventually, by 85, Firestrom becomes a fire elemental. And we have this guy called Rasputin. Gregory Rasputin. Who claimed to know the origin of Firestrom. Okay, here's some interesting about it. Originally, he was supposed to be John Constantine. So they were going to use him, so they created this character instead. And he is named after the real life Rasputin. And by 85, Firestrom becomes a fire elemental. Yes. And he remains like this for, sadly put the remainder of the book, a fire elemental. I have no idea why. It's like he became like a monster throughout the main of this book. Let me show you what the guy looks like here under this. He becomes this. And he maintains his look. Yeah, he started basically forming the previous issue. And it's like, yeah, let's have Firestrom turn into this piece. And let's have become this. And of course we see an image here of also Red Tornado and Swamp Thing. Yes. And eventually, by the end of the issue, after merging of Firestrom once again, it's like there's this white entity, and then he becomes this by toward the end of the issue. And from the readers originally, he remains like this made of the book. He does not unfuse. He is stuck like this, and it's like, yes. And also for the next issue, Tom Mandrake takes over, and the next issue also becomes a tie-in to the Jonas Directive. And that's why I'm going to stop right here with this. I've already discussed the Jonas Directive issue already, so I figured we could place to stop. Very interesting issues per se, but not as strong as they were when Jonas first started the book. I would say probably the most interesting thing related to this book is these issues is probably its crossover with Starman and this environmental stuff. But I don't think it's basically Jonas pushing anti-communist politics in this book. No, it's just basically trying something different with the character. And I did enjoy seeing Killer Frost again. Even if it's only for one issue, but it's great to see her again. Yes, because, you know, she's a Firestrom villain. She should be playing Firestorm, not hang out on, like, whatever book she appears in. I do have this theory of another reason why that she probably appeared in that one issue. My guess is the editors, whoever is editor at the time, of course this was Denny, he probably felt as though, hey, why don't we just use these two for your issue? Because they also probably figured that the book was about to wrap up really soon, because I think at this point the book was losing sales. That could be what happened here. But they probably had another year and a half to hold out on this book by the time that they showed up. Because 18 issues after they have this issue with the Return of Killer Frost and Parasite, the book ends. Yes, 18 issues later. So, when do I think basically the sales started to slip with the book? I think that probably was a good seller throughout the entirety of the Jerry Conway stuff. I would say the sales started to slip after 5th AM came out. Yes. And also probably the Russian stuff. My guess is roughly into like about a year into Ostravender's run. That's probably when the sales started to slip. It wasn't too bad. Probably still strong to keep the book going. But at this point, they probably figured though, yeah, the book is getting axed anyway, so let's just do whatever. But that's just my personal theory anyways, what happened here. But speaking of book got canceled, next up we have is Blue Beetle. Yes, we're here discussing the main issues of Volume 2. I figured though, why discuss this? I'm discussing another Freedom Fighters book because this book has got roughly just this one set of issues left, and that's it for Volume 2. And these are issues, well, this is basically Blue Beetle Boundaries, which collects issues 29 to 34. Yes, it was at this point in time that Matthew Sturgis take over the writing duty of the book. Yes, take over the writing duty and the main writer for reading the book. And a lot of it's him with the Peacemaker, and we have stuff happen here and there, but it's like whatever the hype this book was going through at the time when Keith Giffen and John Rogers on the book, it probably just wasn't there. Heck, even for a couple issues in here, they fight Dr. Polaris. And the book also indirectly becomes a piece on illegal immigration. Yes, for some strange reason, he becomes like appointed by the mayor of El Paso. And they also have a guest appearance by Dr. Midnight, which that was really cool. Oh yeah, and the Dr. Polaris Fence book is not the original one. Nope, it's a brand spanking new version of the character. Who later he debuted in Just Like America. He's a creation of Al Barnett. Yes. I like the fact that this guy basically does acknowledge his predecessor here. And he's kind of, in a way, the main villain of these issues. Yeah. By the way, the whole thing with Rapper Albuquerque does the artwork here for these issues. Some of these issues, anyways. Dr. Midnight's here for a couple issues of these ones. Yeah. You probably think you're reading these issues. Okay, Tristan to show the book. She's not really a big character. We do have a flashback here. So, aside from fighting Dr. Polaris, also La Dama pops in the book. We have guest appearance by the Teen Titans, because why not? But that's kind of what he does. And this, probably this story here, with the whole illegal immigration thing, this may have drove people away. That's my personal guess. Because not long after the storyline wrapped up, the book ended. Like within 2 issues. And according to I just read, the reason why it was canceled because of low sales, because according to Dan DiDio, it was not as high as people thought it was. If you read this book, some people probably thought that the ending should have been issue 25, because basically the main story is wrapped up. And the remaining issues here, the remaining 11 issues, like, nothing against Matthew Sturgis, who's now known as Little Sturgis, but I think doing a piece on illegal immigration probably was not a way to basically help boost up sales. But they're expecting more from the book. It's almost like reading the statement that Dan DiDio, it seemed like he felt disappointed with the book's ending. Which, in fairness, yes, like the last couple issues are much better than this. Yes, much better. But these are the final issues discussed the book, per se. Give it roughly an 8 out of 10. Final thoughts on the second volume of Blue Beetle, but it's over the first volume Jaime Reyes had. Most of this volume was really good. Like, first 25 issues, really good. The other issues weren't too bad. And then we had this story here, probably was the weakest story in the whole book. And then we had the stuff leading to the back of featuring Booster Gold. But with this also, I'm kind of done reviewing DC's printing of Blue Beetle. Yes, there's still also Charlotte and other stuff I could review, yes. But a book over DC Comics, this is the last one. Yep. And it's going to be replaced when I come back to this with Firestrom. When I cap out Firestrom, I'm going to do that with Sandman. The Jack Kirby book. Yep, going to do that one. I figured, oh, why not? Finish the 2 books right there. Yep. But yeah, that's particularly a particular view. Please be sure to like, comment, subscribe, turn notifications. And I will see you all in my next video, which will be another One Piece review. Okay, next video. Bye.